I'm titling this video Ufolly, and it relates to a series of dreams, perhaps. Let's go with dreams. And in these dreams you will see a lot of very badly executed, not drawn to perspective, technical drawings of a particular UFO, which is typical of a larger series of UFOs that I dreamed about, we might say. This is a very strange video for me to be making, but I am going to make it, and I'm going to try to describe some of the characteristics of this imagined or dreamed of ship. Let's not focus too much on the aspect of dream as opposed to reality. This is a report about a flying saucer occupied by one of a small handful of alien civilizations that has visited Earth since humanity emerged here. It's one of very many similar ships crossing interstellar space and visiting us, whether it is real or not. I hope between these images shown on the video, the titles here, you can come to understand the relatively few basic components that make up the ship, and through my voiceover can get some integration, even though the images and the sound will always go together.
Okay, this is Bo Summers.
Hope that'll go well and be effective for me.
Visiting here with an alien from outer space, and trying to show him how to use my Windows Movie Maker. Here in my Galveston t-shirt. And
we'll just stop here now. The ship is not of any particular size. If left on automatic size control, it will be its smallest at the bottom of the ocean and its largest in outer space. Each of the spheres in it is able to break and jumble and generate power by friction with and magnetic fields through an outer and inner sphere concentrically. It may be said to have three regions or zones. The central zone has a component of the command and fusion center, power center, and the command center is a pure. Okay, so let's look at the central sphere. There are four other spheres. Those spheres in the central sphere all can jumble. They all have concentric levels that generate fields between them. They're connected by telescoping arms. The central sphere also sprouts columns, goes up to disk. There's this large ring which can take any shape but is a ring, and wings connect from the rings to the disk. In the central ship there is a pyramidal ship embedded in the larger ship, which is almost never taken out, and also contains 2 telescoping columns from the central sphere and 4 telescoping arms connected to its equator, and those are central sphere alone is about 6 to 12 stories and runs the whole ship very effectively. It's virtually impossible to do what I'm trying to do in 15 minutes, to try to bridge an infinite number of questions about whether or not something is even plausible. At the same time, try to describe the mechanics of a ship with 56 wings, 5 central cubes, 4 telescoping arms, a large outer ring, an upper and lower disk, and 2 collapsible columns. That's its shape. And then its functions, and then the particular type of fusion power used in the ship. These things seem virtually impossible, and perhaps they are. But through suggesting in the brief time I have and the small resources I have how the various things work together, people are really interested, could play these over and over again and get some idea of what is being described. So we'll work with that. Within the context of this, let's say that though this is being treated as a dream, only the largest and most important of this type of ship would have a pyramid embedded inside. The others only function with a sphere alone, with just a command pod, and thus it is a sign of power. The central zone is where the largest number of people and machines and computers and power centers are. The fusion power in this ship is generated in a very complicated sphere in the middle with silver, gold, diamond, quartz, lead among the elements of it. Has numerous jets for plasma and ionized plasma flow, but the basic concept is none of those things. That tiny amounts of highly guided particles of heavy metals and other objects are created in a controlled storm which allows fission to occur without what we would consider to be anything close to critical mass, releasing relatively tiny amounts of fission explosions, not merely reactions, near one another, and then creating fusion in areas where they are surrounded by these tiny fission reactions. The fusion involves a tiny amount of material, truly tiny, but releases enough energy. And this breeding is not truly breeding, but is propagation. And the materials produced, the waste produced, and the energy produced from this drive a vast number of systems within the ship. The amazing start-stop fusion and alternative fission generator. And these connect to the outer thing, which has 4 minor spheres connected by the telescoping arms which join, and outer ports and jets ring with wing tracks that connect the 56 rotary rings, 28 above and 28 below, and they all run like clicking along like film strip or a group of railroad cars, constantly changing and adapting their camber, shape, angle of attack, able to be bent into almost any possible connection. And then there are the ephemeral components in the ephemeral zone, which is in between the columns and shown by the green area in one of these drawings, full of bags that can be between 2 and 16. The bags determine the airflow from the wings, and they can be as porous, as hard, as large or as small as needed, and all together allow the ship to gas out things, so they can funnel energy to the various jets. The outer ring has 2 tracks which connect with the wings running along them, which in turn connect to the rings around the coin-shaped room, which is atop and at the bottom of the 2 telescoping columns that run out of the central command. So this leaves many questions unanswered, but let's examine some of the questions that are answered and see if that helps. We know that one of the biggest problems in spacecraft is one that's recently been addressed by Burt Rutan and supported by Richard Branson and Virgin Galactic, which in their suborbital flights they use an unusual design on the tail to imitate the flight dynamics of a shuttle clock, so that re-entering the atmosphere is such a huge mathematical and physical and safety challenge. You can see that these ships do not have any challenges as that regards. If their atmosphere is thick, heavily charged, or full of particles, or to a great degree radioactive, the winds are unpredictable, the ship is ideally suited to interact and react. It can go anywhere, go up and down. It can go deep into space. The gimbling is only part of it. There's a rigging issue that is related to the behavior of the spheres. They each need to have a certain spiral staircase quality. The ones on the outside almost always have centripetal force as a very significant factor when they're traveling slowly through the atmosphere. On Earth, for example, the downward pull of the Earth is greater, but barely, so there's a nuance there, and they have a bay-like structure. The drawings that I show of the central sphere are true for operations in Earth's atmosphere. When they're operating in free space, there are readaptations of the floors, and also don't fully show the outer circle of the central pod the way I perhaps should.